Leighton. I'm a pastor and a follower of Jesus, and I'm also involved in a bit of worship and music. And there's a fascinating conversation that happens in John chapter 4, the Gospel of John in the New Testament, between Jesus and a Samaritan woman. Now, when I say Samaritan, I mean it in the sense that the Jews said it. A woman who's not of our own kind, not our kin. She's one of them, one of those. Well, Jesus actually goes out of his way, John says, to have this conversation with this woman. And in the process, he exposes her. He says, yeah, those 5 men you've been with, you're not with them no longer. And that man you're with now, he's not your husband either. And you can see in your mind's eye, if you read between the lines, her recoiling at this. She's exposed. Jesus has totally exposed her. So to distract him, she brings up a controversial topic of her time, worship. Does that sound familiar? Same, I think so too. But what he says about worship is so telling, I think, for her time and ours. He talks to her in terms of place and time and worship. Now, she actually initiates the conversation. She says, you Jews, you worship on Mount Jerusalem. Well, us Samaritans, we worship over here on Mount Gerizim, because he's actually sitting there at the well. And she's pointing to it. They can see it at Jacob's well, where they sit. So he's in her turf. And she brings up this controversy. Well, Jesus actually, like he so often does, turns the conversation back around and he says, well, actually, you Samaritans worship that which you do not know. And we worship, us Jews worship that which we know, for salvation comes from the Jews. But when you look deeper at the text, which I've been doing this year a little bit, looking in John 4 at the Greek, you actually see that what Jesus does is he says, yeah, you guys worship out of ignorance here at Mount Gerizim. And we, us Jews, we worship that which we know. And the tone of his voice seems to suggest that which. He doesn't say we worship who we know. He says that which we know. In other words, yeah, us Jews have a system of worship too. We're actually worshipping an object, but not the person of God. And he goes on to say, at the end of this conversation, this beautiful statement he makes, the Father is looking for people who worship, no longer at mountains or places or spaces with those objects, with these objects, with that style, with this style. The Father is seeking those who worship in spirit and truth. And at the very end of the conversation, she says, oh man, I can see you're a prophet. And she says, when Messiah comes, he will explain all of this to us. Jesus pauses and says, I am he. And so wherever you're worshipping right now, I just pray that whatever it looks like, sounds like, feels like, whatever that experience may be, that you would be worshipping, not there on that mountain or here on this one, a thing, an object, but that you would be worshipping Jesus, a person, the Son of God.